Welcome to Dave's American Flyer Trains. In this video, I just want to share some things about some trains that are upcoming in the Workbench queue. Queue's getting a little backed up, but we're making progress and moving right along. For the moment, just ignore this New Haven piece sitting in the front because I want to start in the back and work my way forward in what's upcoming on the bench. In the background is a rebuild of the 060 switcher 21004. Having a little bit of issues with it in getting it to respond, but it's a work in progress. Also on the bench is a rebuild of a 287 462 Pacific. Again, that was one of the more common trains. That is this Pacific with a plastic body that Gilbert had in his inventory. This one I think is going to require a new wiring harness, which I've already secured for my parts selection, but it's really acting up and it's probably going to need a rebuild. And again, we'll skip over this New Haven set for just a moment because what I wanted to feature in addition to the New Haven set is spend a little bit of time on this Santa Fe set you see in the background. Now on this one I was as equally astonished by the paint work that was done on this. I think it has been repainted and you'll notice that it is numbered. You'll eventually notice that 494 495. It was sold as the 4949 set pair from 1956. One pull more per motor, operating headlights on both, and according to Doyle it had a diesel roar and a horn. Now the only thing I've been able to identify is the horn, but it was when I rebuilt the B unit, the dummy A unit, it was dried out completely. As a matter of fact, the paper, I had a hole punched in it. It was just the old brown paper type speaker. Actually, it looks like a cat food can speaker. And it had the brown front on it, so I'm awaiting to get the replacement horn for that. But again, the paint on this is incredible. Now I've got an extra stacked New Haven decal I'm going to put on the front of this, sticker I'm going to put on the front. But look at the workmanship in this paint. The font to me looks a little large on the New Haven, but not the stacked NH, but that's okay. Whoever did this did an incredible job. And I think you can tell that it's been repainted because you can see a little bit of gathering of the paint in the vents and also on the body, top of the body. Some of those spray paint right there. You can see some of the spray paint wrinkles in it and a little bit of gathering of paint in the vent. Now to me, and I'm not being critical, this work is just incredible. But to me, that shows that maybe it was not given a primer. I was understood, and I've always practiced, that if you put a really good prime coat on these plastic trains, the paint has a tendency to be much more stable and not move around at all. But again, I was just so astounded by the quality of this paint. Now I'm going to show you the inside of the train in just a moment. Inside of the engine. Let's look at this passenger coach. My understanding is the owner has the full set of these passenger coaches, and I'm going to rebuild this one. The only thing I'm going to do to it is to make sure that the journal boxes are clean and lubricated and that the pickup wheels are reconditioned. I have no intentions of taking the body off. Notice too that I guess the person that did the repainting work put in the partial shades, that is being pulled down part way. The only cars that I have in my collection that have those shades pulled down about 1/2 to 3/4 of the way are some of those old heavyweight Pullman coaches that have the same thing. The New Haven along the bottom here, to me again looks a little large, the font, and a tiny bit large up here on American Flyer lines, but acceptable. You'll notice that the plate, which is normally found on these cars, has been removed, and underneath, I assume the holes were filled in where the rivets usually go. Underneath, it was repainted, and then it was lettered on top with New Haven. I have no idea how those letters were applied. They don't look to be water slide. They look to be either painted from a template, a spray template, or dry rubs. But again, the paint work on this is pretty phenomenal. A few plastic nicks, but that has nothing to do with the paint work on it. Just beautiful. And later on, in later videos, you'll see why I'm getting so excited about New Haven trains. I've got a new New Haven train on my layout as well that I kind of manufactured from different things, including I made a Osgood Bradley heavyweight coach. I'll explain that later when we get to it. On this one, I took the truck collector assembly shoes and removed all the springs, cleaned everything, couplers removed, and we'll go on and look at the interior of the motor, but just take in this paint job. This is what it looks like when this nose stacked NH was peeling on this one just as bad as it is on the power unit, and I put in a new, for the owner, I put a new sticker on front. Just a gorgeous train. I've rebuilt this one. I am waiting a speaker, but everything underneath has been completely rebuilt. The rebuild of the 494 interior, the motors and the chassis, is almost complete. I've already finished the front motor. I'm just wrapping up the back motor. Part of the work, of course, was to clean all these truck and collector assemblies, including the shoes and springs were all removed, retensioned, relubricated, and cleaned with CRC 226. Of course, I took the shoe out completely to make sure the interior of the shoe box was clean, to get maximum or to improve the contact and the electrical current flow. So both of those are done. Same thing on the back of the train. You can kind of tell the age of some of these because this is when Gilbert was still using screws to hold the couplers on. Now, I just finished one train for this owner in which the screws were used for both the front extended coupler and the shorter couplers. But this one has a rivet on the front coupler and then screws on the others. But all that work is finished. Some of the smaller parts up here are finished, such as the cleaning and polishing of the worm gear covers, as well as the bearing straps. Now, what's unique about this one is that when there is the yoke and field clamp is one unit, which I've found to be more the rule rather than the exception, there is a type of screw that holds it on. And I believe it is the exact same screw that holds the reverse unit on. It's got the rounded shoulders, it's got a shorter shaft, so it's round head, short. That means that the hole in the chassis is more shallow. Matter of fact, you can see the back of the hole there. Well, why is that important? Well, it secures the yoke and field clamp to the chassis, but when the field clamp and yoke are not one and the same, they're separate items, which is the one I like to work on the best. It's more favorable, I believe, to work because you don't have to put the motor on into the clamp at the same time you're centering the field. With the other one, where the field clamp and the yoke assembly are different, you can center the field with the field clamp and then put it in the motor yoke itself. Those are held on, as I'm sure you've noted, with a longer shaft screw that has a larger hole and a square head or square shoulders. So the hole, the diameter of the hole is slightly larger, It is significantly deeper, and of course the screw head is square because on the motor clamp, all it's going to do is fit over the screw and clamp onto it, snap onto it. My favorite would work. That screw, I believe, I'm sure you're familiar with it, is the S4A06. This one, I believe, is a more common screw called the S230B, and they are not interchangeable, has been my experience. In other words, you can't put the larger screw on this chassis.